Hello, and today I'm going to show you how I made this Chestburster prop from a mix of different foams and paper mache. So the first thing that I'm doing here is kind of making the main middle kind of base structure of the Chestburster, and I'm making this out of a PVA glue container which has a screw cap, and I designed it this way so that it could be screwed apart and then sandwiched in between a t-shirt, so you could have it underneath and it could be a kind of costume thing of the Chestburster coming out, and that could be a kind of effect. And then here I'm just making the kind of, two attachments which will screw together, and then here I'm just layering up copper wire to be the kind of main armature structure of the Chestburster's kind of head area. So now I'm just building it up with some packaging foam. This is just to give it kind of more of a structure underneath, and I'm kind of going up and considering how the Chestburster's head's going to be positioned, and I wanted it to kind of be like facing upwards, so kind of at the base it's just vertical, and then it's kind of going to more of a horizontal face position. And on the wire here you can see I've left a bit of wire which can act as the kind of mouth area, and now I'm using this kind of finer white foam for doing the headpiece and the top of the head. And here I'm just kind of shaping the mouth up a bit more, and just building layers on top, using hot glue. Even though this does sometimes kind of melt some of the foam, it worked well for what I was doing. And I'm just kind of making that kind of dome shape that the Chestburster has, and I'm using a knife, just kind of carving the foam at this point, not doing the mouth just yet, just trying to get the kind of head shape that I wanted. And I use a bit of cardboard there to kind of squish the foam down a bit, and now I'm doing the mouth, and for this I use some cardboard to kind of get the main structure of the mouth before I go ahead and put some foam on here, as you see, and I kind of just wrap it around, making it look more organic. Is what I'm trying to do, less purposely made. And as you see here, it's done quite well. And now working on the shell, I kind of made these templates which can go on top of the foam base structure I've made, and these just come together using thin EVA foam, just gluing it on nicely, making sure it's all on properly, cutting down the centre line to make sure that two pieces can line up. And I've left some holes there out for the eyes, the kind of eyes area that the Chestburster has, just making sure it's all flat. And then I'm building up the eyes a bit more so it has more of a bulge to them, so when I put the other parts on later, it can, as you see here, I'm now putting on the eyes. And now I'm going to do some PVA glue with some newspaper to do some paper mache, more of a structure, more of a shell, make it more harder, and also to hide up all the seams of the EVA foam. And this was just the simple process of watered down PVA glue with the newspaper, making sure I did about 3 layers, I think. And after this was all dry and stuff, I would cut out the excess pieces. As you see around the eyes, I tried to neaten that up, and made some adjustments as well to the shell area. And that's it all dry. It's quite nice and strong now. And now I'm adding on the rest of the skin to the Chestburster, and I'm just using the thin EVA foam again, just seeing how I can shape it around. Luckily, when you heat up EVA foam, which is what I'm basically doing with the hot glue, it means that you can form it quite easily, so I can kind of almost in some ways stretch it. And then I just use some other pieces for filling some areas that were hard to get to with that big piece. These will all be hid later with other details and weathering. And then just doing the jaw here, kind of folding it over into the teeth area, and then also adding a tiny bit more because the jaw wasn't big enough for me, so I just added a bit more, then added a bit more foam, and I added a bit more of a chin as well, because I quite like that the Chestburster has a kind of pointy chin, so I wanted to try and translate that a bit more, and just folding over all again, making sure to cut it down neatly. And now that all this kind of skin was on, I could work on some of the biomechanical details. I really enjoyed doing this, so I used just some wires, and then here I'm just scoring on some pieces of thin EVA foam to kind of glue it on top of those wires, give it that kind of tube shapes that the Chestburster has. And then here I'm just working on some other details, which are the hands, these kind of two little flipper things that it has on it, and these were just simple kind of, you know, packaging foam on the inside. And then here it is screwed onto the base piece. And now that most of this was done, I needed to work on the side of the mouth, which is kind of this webbed effect, which I really love on this design. So I tried to make that as best as I could using some EVA foam, and then I used a run-out ballpoint pen to kind of do all my detail scoring and stuff, make all those kind of creases in the skin. Added some more details using the same techniques I was before, kind of just greebling at this point, just kind of adding on detail to the side of the head, and you have this quite nice looking Chestburster with all its details. And now I'm working on the tail, which, as you see here, I've made this armature again, using more packaging foam, just wrapping it around. I'm going to start off bigger at the base of the Chestburster, and then going out it's going to, you know, kind of taper off to a thinner tail. So here I'm just using that packaging foam and just layering it on top, taking my time and using all the packaging foam I can use, and then also, you know, trying to almost carve it in some ways using some scissors, just take off all the excess. And then I'm gluing on the thin EVA foam, trying to make the seams as unnoticeable as possible, taking my time with that as well, just really trying to form it around this kind of shape that I've created, and just going down, trying to make my seams as unnoticeable as possible again, and then just going down, cutting down with a centre line, because it's good to have that neatness, and then I can go ahead and try and hide this line later. And the tail is quite long. I think I may have made it a bit shorter than it actually is in the films, just because it's not so practical to have a really long Chestburster when most of it is an undetailed kind of snake tail. But it was very important to the character of the prop. And then at the end I kind of just fold it over, and there it is with all its skin on. Made all these creases and stuff. It works with the kind of skin of the prop. And now I'm working on a base, and I just kind of came up with this design, kind of this just step base that just goes up. It's just something nice to have the Chestburster on, make it stand up. And I've just put in some toothpicks here so I can jab the foam in, and it can sit on it nicely. And then here I'm just, you know, using some PVA glue, trying to kind of seal as much as I can of the EVA foam, and then just mixing up a tone of kind of this kind of pasty colour, which I think is good. I use a picture for reference, of course, and mixing this up, I think I used some yellow ochre and some whites. That was the main colours I used. And then just working on a kind of mount here that I made, just, you know, doing a kind of base coat of this. You know, it's good to do a good couple, 3 coats I think of this paint on the prop, and then just doing it on the tail as well, you know, using the base that I made again as a kind of way to handle it a bit easier. And then it was on to the weathering, and for this I kind of tried to do some dry brushing with some brown acrylic paint, just like in the kind of crevice areas, to give it more detail, more depth in them, and kind of this griminess, which I really like. And it just makes the detail kind of pop a bit more, and you kind of see it a bit better. And then I'm just doing that again here with all the kind of biomechanical details in the hands. Then here I'm just gluing in the teeth of the Chestburster, which are just silver spray painted ends of toothpicks, and I'm using some tweezers just to, you know, put them in precisely. I made sure to try and make not all the teeth the same length, kind of give it this jagged feel. And for this I just used a hot glue gun, tried to glue in some more to just give it some more support. And this was quite a fiddly process, but it was definitely worth it in the end, because you get those brilliant looking teeth, which really complete the biomechanical kind of look. And then I'm just using some red acrylic paint, kind of doing some details. You know, it's just come out of of a human's body. And I didn't go too overboard with the blood. I kind of wanted to make it look a bit old. And then finally I'm just doing it on here on the base. And that was pretty much it for the whole project.